Welcome, and welcome back to the Two Mites podcast, the trillest pod that has ever been casted. My name is Byron Rito, and welcome to episode 3 of the Two Mites podcast. Welcome from wherever you're watching from: YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, MySpace, Facebook, wherever it is. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and share this with somebody. Grab the link, send it out, like it, subscribe to this channel. And I pray that with the content that we put out continues to bless you. I pray that you are continually impacted by it, and that in everything we give our 110%. I'm so excited because for these first 2 episodes, I went solo, and I got a chance to really chop it up with you guys. And like I said, I wanted to take those first few episodes and get a chance to learn from you guys and get DMs and emails and messages, and you guys have been so great, so amazing. And so I have my first guest on with us today, and not only is she equally beautiful as she is smart, she is somebody that is so amazing, so talented, so gifted. And before I bring her up to the stage or the table or the microphone, like I said, subscribe, like, send it out to somebody, send this podcast out so that people can be blessed. I have the most amazing, the most beautiful Jordan Marie Rito with me today, and I am so excited. Not only is she my best friend, but she's my wife, and she's here with me, babe. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I was telling people, and I told them this already, that this podcast is just as much yours as it is mine. And so Two Mites is not like 1 and 2. It's not like me and you mites. You know, it's different than that. But
yes,
you do make up the other half of, or the other whole of this. So thank you so much for being here with me today.
Absolutely.
This will not be the last time. This is just the first of many. And I'm so glad that you're here.
I am too. I haven't seen you in so long.
It's been a good 30 minutes or so.
At least.
Set all this up. So it's been
and I had a long walk from the kitchen to here.
Yes.
So thank you for inviting me.
I'm glad you're
I
here.
am honored to be a guest and to be the first guest.
The first one.
I would like to say that it wasn't just assumed. You sent me a formal invite.
I did.
Through text.
I did.
While I was in the next room over.
Yes.
And it had my full name, had this nice written out invitation to be on your podcast. You sent me the date that I would be on there.
I did do that.
I was, I gladly accepted and asked if we could share a TV kiss, but
you didn't ask me that.
I did. I text you back, but I didn't get a response, so I thought that maybe the crew was like, "We're not doing that."
Yeah, the crew.
Production said, that's not the time for this."
Maybe maybe soon.
Maybe later.
Maybe at the end.
Okay, maybe off TV.
Now you're talking my language, baby. Yeah, off TV, we can definitely do that. Okay. I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for being a part. So I had questions.
Okay.
I had a layout. We were gonna hit it. We were gonna talk about it. Hit it. No, not. We're gonna hit the questions. I mean,
take it back.
And it was gonna be fun. But you decided to go to your Instagram and have people send in questions just so that me and you would answer questions. We went on a date night the other night.
Yes, it was fun.
And you were like, "Hey, just send us some questions while we're on a date." And you got a lot of really great questions.
Yes.
Honestly, the same questions I was gonna ask, but just in a different way because it comes from the heart of people. And so we switched it up. And I would like to actually go that route, and me and you can tag team on some of these questions together.
Okay.
So honestly, this podcast is just as much you guys as it is us. Yes. So thank you for wanting to
provide the content
today and be a part. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, are you down for that?
Yeah, I'm excited about some of these questions.
Yeah.
We answered some of them on the Instagram Live. I answered some of the lighter ones, and then I felt that most of you that have done questions on Instagram, that was my first time, so I didn't know that. Yeah. You get essentially 15 seconds to answer, and unless you're just perfect with your speech and your communication, that is impossible. Yeah. Well, it's probably possible, but it's a good challenge.
It's hard.
It's a good challenge for people like me that can get long-winded when they get passionate.
Yeah.
But anyways, so some of the more serious questions, more personal questions that have to do with our marriage, our relationship, how we got to this point, we decided to kind of unpack those here today.
Yep. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do.
That's what we're going to do.
I'm excited. You ready?
I am ready.
Again, subscribe, send it out to somebody, like it, rate it, share it, post it, tweet it, mail it.
Don't forget your MySpace.
And don't forget your MySpace.
Yes.
All right. So first question. Let's get into it.
All right.
I wanted to hit it off just right off the bat. Just deep dive into it.
Gosh.
You know, just straightforward. So we're just gonna get into it. Did you guys practice abstinence until marriage? If so, what things helped?
Wow, we're just shooting the fireball out of the cannon.
I did not want to waste any time.
My goodness, this is like one of those questions you work up to. But
yeah, no, just
all right,
straightforward.
Well, we will. Let's talk about it then.
Let's talk about it. Come on.
When we got married, I was not a virgin per se, and Byron obviously was not a virgin because Byron has been previously married. If I understand correctly, Byron did wait until marriage to have sex,
do the deed.
Yeah. Byron did wait until marriage to have sex, but this is my first marriage, and so I was not a virgin when I married Byron. So that was an element we had to sit down and really talk about, because I had been abstinent, for a good amount of time before dating Byron, and he was coming out of a marriage where you're just kind of having sex whenever you want. That's what married people do.
Yeah.
And so he's now having to abstain or try to abstain for the first time. So we're really having to sit down and really talk about this
for the first time in a while. So it was almost like,
right.
I'm never eating sugar, and then you had like a really good cupcake,
right?
And then it was like,
so that was your first time experiencing it, and then having to like kind of cold turkey.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, cold turkey. It was like, wait a minute, I can't have cupcakes. So it was a second. Yeah.
So we did talk about it, and we did decide that's what we wanted to do. We obviously also had the people around us. That was like the number one advice, I guess, from everybody around us, was to abstain. Now, I will say that Byron moved back to Houston right after his divorce, and during his separation, he moved back to Houston. And I will say that was probably the biggest blessing for us.
I think so too.
I mean, a huge blessing for us. It honestly slowed the whole thing down.
Looking at it now, I think in the beginning we were like,
oh, this sucks. We're going to be super long distant. But it was, I think the Lord knew. The Lord knew that I kind of dealt with sexual impurity, or those were kind of like my challenges just growing up out of high school into college and things like that. So I think the Lord knew that would definitely be a blessing for us to have so much distance in between us, to where sex and the access to each other wasn't
accessible.
It wasn't accessible. It wasn't accessible on the daily, just to be in each other's presence. And so you hear all the time, if you deal with that and you're not wanting to, then don't put yourself in those situations. And that's a little bit easier said than done,
for sure,
because you want to be around that person.
You're like, don't put myself like around them,
right?
Because when I'm just around them, I want to.
Well, you know what? FaceTime was honestly a godsend for us.
Yeah.
So.
But that was the same thing. I mean, like, I struggled with the same stuff in high school as well as you, as just being like, I never really, I didn't do a lot of bad, but girls were my bad for sure. And so it was, I don't know how I remained a virgin. And I say virgin, but it's like virgin. It's what,
okay.
We're
trying to help the people.
I'm just saying, and so even the fact that I did do that was just amazing. And so then be married and then not married, and then just like trying to figure out what to do with that. It was tough, but definitely long distance was a huge help. And we did long distance until we were married. So
yes,
it was crazy.
And I knew
we were married.
I knew coming out of a marriage, that would be a different dynamic for you.
For sure.
For me, I had abstained for a while and had not kind of put myself in those situations.
Yeah.
And so I knew you coming out of a marriage, that would be a whole new element.
Yeah. You
kind of had to reprocess in. So it was honestly discipline, but honestly, it was just the word. I mean, I can't help.
Talk nice.
Not help my sin, but all of the instructions are easier said than done. Don't put yourself in those situations. Don't be out late with somebody. Don't meet by yourself, meet in groups. And those are practical things that you can do. But for some of us, the root is a little bit deeper than just, not being caught in a car together or, coming over to an apartment late or things like that. Yeah. It's the word. Yeah. And so the only way that I feel like when I say I tried not to have sex or I tried not to sin, that is me in my own strength trying to overcome something that I can't overcome without the word and the Holy Spirit. So me staying in my word, reading the word, and pursuing the Lord, that replaces sin.
So how did we establish those boundaries?
You moved to Texas. That was a huge boundary. And honestly, it was an answered prayer for me. I didn't know how we were going to do this. I knew that being abstinent with Byron and waiting till marriage is something that I really, really wanted to do. I really wanted to do it. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to in my own strength. Yeah. And so I even prayed like, Lord, I'm going to be in my word and I'm going to be focused on you, but please do something for your sister here. And so he said, all right, I'll take him 13 hours away from you. Truly. And I said, hallelujah.
What would you say to people that live next door to each other?
Move to Texas. No, I'm kidding. Establish. I think that was another question that we had. How do you establish boundaries? And that was general. That was the question. So I don't know if it meant sexual boundaries or in relationships or.
We'll say sexual.
Or because we're talking about that. Yeah. I would say that one, stay in your word. Yeah. Read the word because the word will remind you of who you are, and the word will put your focus where it needs to be. Putting your focus on the Lord allows. He has called you righteous. You are not your sin. Yeah. But if you try to do this in your own strength, if you try to say, I will not do this, I will not do this, and the focus is on the sin and not what you've been delivered from, you are going to sin. Yeah. And so I say practically, also get some people around you that can hold you accountable. You've got to be able to be honest. Good. I had people that could read right through me like a book, and they would just walk up to me there and be like, are you doing this? Yeah. I'm like, how do you know that? Right. How do you even know to come ask me that in the middle of this banquet?
So having people around you that know you and that know you really good.
So I would definitely get some accountability partners, and you got to be honest. It's pointless to have accountability partners if you're not going to tell the truth.
For sure.
And so I think you have to address that issue. Why am I lying about this? That was something that I had to address.
And for the ones that are listening on the podcast, it was know you, like KNOW, and then know you, NO. That actually can say no to those certain things that you feel like that are in your life, that can speak to those certain things, and you're not gonna let anybody NO you that you don't KNOW. So that's also really good.
Yes.
This is another question. Okay. Did you have any insecurities knowing Byron was married before?
Whew.
I don't even know if I've ever even asked you that. I mean, we've talked about obviously me being married before, but I don't know if I've ever asked you if you had insecurities.
I had wanted to be married for a long time. Right. And so I had, I feel like I knew who I was as a woman, and I knew who I was as a wife, and I knew that the wife I was going to be to someone. So if it wasn't you, then it wasn't you, right. And that's just kind of where I was. I wasn't caught in this emotional thing too quickly, that it was like, I'm going to be heartbroken if it's not Byron. And this was early on, and I had to put that boundary up very early on. And so I don't think per se that there were insecurities, especially when we started dating. Now, I think that there are moments where you can think, oh, well, he married this person, so this may be what he's looking for. So maybe I should change the way that the clothes that I wear, or maybe I should do my makeup this way, or maybe I should talk like this, or maybe I should like these certain kinds of foods. And you do start, if you're not careful, you will start changing those things about you if you are not secure and you're not whole in who you are before, not just dating someone that's either already been married or in a relationship, but just in general.
Mm-hmm. From there, were there any challenges with marrying someone who was previously married?
I don't think so. And I think that's a big testament to you, only because you and I walked.
Like, I'm sure that there can be.
There can be. Yeah. But I walked with I watched you walk through processing. Byron honestly gave me like a very, very cold wall for a long time. And I don't think, and it was definitely not what you wanted to do, but you, in that sense, you were protecting me. You did not allow me to fall in love with you or you to fall in love with me until you knew that your marriage was completely over. Right. And I'll say this, you know, separated is not divorced. And so seeing that thing out to the end honestly allowed me to see the kind of husband that you were. And I remember you telling me, I don't know how this is going to end, but if it ends with you and I do end up together, I want you to know that I'm an honorable husband. Right. And I'm going to fight for my marriage, whether it's with someone else or whether if we were to get married and we had to fight for our marriage one day, I'm going to fight to the very end. Yeah. And so I think with that, I was very just secure that you knew that you were ready to move on and you were healed and you were ready. You didn't allow yourself to move into something prematurely, which gave me a lot of confidence that when you did finally do that, I knew that we could move forward.
Well, people don't know this. A lot of people don't. But for myself, going through what I went through and then meeting Jordan and having these feelings, but then still being married and trying to figure out what to do. So then I went to you and was like, listen, until this is final or until it is, you know, I get the papers or whatever, until I know for a fact, like, it's going to be really hard to like you. So it was cold turkey. And in that time, you would pray with me and you would pray for myself and my previous marriage. And you'd be like, well, then if it's going to happen, then I pray that it's going to happen. And we're going to pray through that together. Yeah. Which I thought was the sexiest thing in the whole world. Like,
well, I will also say too,
I just wanted to lick your face off when you told me that. I was like, wow.
I will also say too that when you say like I prayed for you, there were most of that was separate. It wasn't like, because I know girls can take that as like, I'm going to rush in and I'm going to be your healer. Yeah, no. And I'm going to do that. And that, ladies, that is what I was used to doing. And it had not worked out for me in the past. So I knew, man, Byron is really, truly a gem and truly a husband. And I have got to go about this a completely different way. And so I truly seeked wisdom every day. It was not a one-time prayer. Yeah. I would pray for him alone. Yeah. I would pray for him and his, you know, the marriage that he was currently fighting for, because I could see that he wanted that. Yeah. He wanted that to work. And so, and those were very hard prayers to pray. Yeah. But, you know, here we are.
Here we are. Next question. Somebody said, I struggle with comparing myself to my boyfriend's ex. Any advice?
We kind of hit it. I think it's just being secure in who you are. Right. And when those things sneak up on you, that maybe my boyfriend would like it if I dress this way, and it's more of how, I'm assuming it was a girl, how, you know, the ex dressed or the food that she ate or her personality or things like that. You got to let that go. And so you have to be, and you should be, completely whole in who you are and know who you are in the Lord before you even move into another relationship or move into a relationship. Yeah. So if it's not fair to him if he's not pushing that on you. Right. You know, if the guy's not saying, you know, if he's constantly saying like, babe, I love you the way you are. Like, I picked you because you're not my ex. There are things about you that,
thank God you're not my ex,
that I love. Yeah. And so there are things, he's with you for certain reasons. And so keep those reasons.
Yeah. And if he is doing that, if he is affirming you and loving you and pushing you towards the right direction, then you are spending too much time focusing on his ex when you should be focusing on the relationship. And so don't compare yourself. Like, he is with you for you. Now, if there's some weird stuff going on and you constantly see him liking her photos, which you probably shouldn't be following your ex anyways, or talking about her, then that's a totally different thing. Yeah. But if he is affirming you, if he is loving on you, if he is giving you that comfort that you're really looking for, then don't spend your time and energy on his ex. You should be spending it on the relationship. So absolutely. That's really good. This is for me and you. What is one thing you would say prepared you well for marriage?
Well, I was very fortunate in the sense that I have probably the greatest example in the world in my parents and in my mom, with just being a wife in general. And I know their marriage probably wasn't always like that, but in the years that it mattered for me to be able to watch and listen and hear and learn, they've just been incredible,
sure.
incredible examples. And I wasn't the cookie cutter child. Obviously, I was raised by a single mom, right. So I didn't come from this perfect home life and this perfect, you know, American dream family. Mm-hmm. But watching my parents' marriage has been probably the biggest advantage for me.
Yeah.
And then also just the word. What did God say about being a wife? What did God say about me being a woman and then being a wife? Yeah. And then just sticking to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I talk a lot about the word, but there's no book like the word.
I mean,
the word of God.
There's no living thing.
I did read books on being a wife. But that's because that was a personal preference. I like to read, and I loved wanting to know as much as I could. But that's not a necessity if you're not reading the truth. Ladies, we have some tangible work to do that is listed in Proverbs 31. My mom's actually releasing a book.
She is.
This month.
She is.
This month called The Wife Book. Yes. And I encourage you to get it. I actually may buy like 5 or 6 copies
and send them out.
Give them to people. Yeah. So if you watch this podcast and you are still watching and you've made it to this question, comment below your name and say, I am really serious about wanting to be a wife and a godly wife.
That's great.
And I would love this book.
Yeah.
Put that in the comments below and I will connect with you and I will send you a free copy personally from me. But that book, I watched the book in living version. Yeah. Like my mom is the book, but it's going to be great.